will somebody please help Daccord? Just one, maybe one person, please at least put in some effort anywhere near like what Daccord is putting in. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken lose 3-0 to the DC Capitals in a game that was just about as boring and lifeless from the Kraken perspective as the Capitals' primary logo. Well, that is anyway, aside from the performance of Joey Daccord in net, which was absolutely fantastic. If you're just there to watch some good goaltending, boy oh boy did Daccord put on a show. He was a one-man highlight reel all game long, playing his 100th career NHL game, and it really seemed like he wanted to make it one to remember. Unfortunately, the rest of the team seemed to completely forget that there was even a game to play in the first place, as they really did pretty much nothing to help him all game long. And I'm not just saying that because they couldn't score or really create any kind of lasting, meaningful offensive zone pressure as if it was Grubauer in net behind them, but also because, somewhat like when Grubauer's in net, they also gave up constant odd man rushes and breakaways back at Daccord, so that he had to put on that absolute highlight reel worth of saves throughout the course of this game. And thankfully for the team, Daccord was mostly up to the task. Otherwise, this game could have gotten very ugly in quite a hurry. This could have easily been a 5-6, maybe even 7-0 game. Yeah, the goaltending at the other end was pretty good, though. He really didn't have to make very many saves. Lindgren in net there for the Capitals, at least not particularly high danger ones. Shane Wright got one good look from a nice play by McCann, and Bjorkstrand had a breakaway, but aside from that, the Kraken got pretty much nothing dangerous on him, and certainly nowhere near the quantity that was back the other way. So, yeah, it's not too surprising then that the Kraken aren't able to score, and Daccord is the only reason that they didn't get booed off the ice. And with that being the case, the game gets off to about the start you would expect. The Kraken almost immediately let up a couple, but Daccord has a couple more good saves in him, not too dissimilar from how they started off the game against the Sabres. They're able to survive it, but the Capitals keep the pressure on until eventually they do end up scoring, and this one is probably one Daccord would like back. It's maybe a little bit screened, and it is a perfect shot into the near side top corner over his blocker's side. But it's a save we'd probably usually see him make, and, well, we'd see him make some much better saves over the course of this game. Luckily for Daccord, it is one he'll get back, because it turns out it was, well, pretty well offside coming across the line. I'm not sure that it made a huge difference as far as how the play developed, and it certainly didn't make much difference in the shot that actually ends up getting into the net, but those are the rules, so the goal comes off, and the Kraken catch quite a bit of a break. Fortunately, also like the Sabres game, the Kraken respond to this and have probably the one period of this entire game, if you want to really nitpick the criticism of the Kraken in this one, they do respond with some pressure back the other way. Through a few minutes here in the middle of the first period, it actually looks like they're going to turn things around and respond in a similar way to how they did a couple nights ago against Buffalo. Unfortunately, as we would see throughout the rest of the game, when you play a similar game to how you played against the Sabres, against a very good team and a team that's playing the best they've played all season, like the Capitals, you're going to end up paying for it. And sure enough, after not too long at all, just a few blissful moments of Kraken offensive pressure, the Capitals turn it back the other way for the last few minutes of the first. They get a breakaway chance, which Daccord comes up with a huge save on. Then another odd man rush with the guy that gets in all alone in front of Daccord. A power move to the front of the net. He makes an even nicer save on that, which is such a great save, or such a great sequence, really, of saves from Daccord that even Ovechkin has to come over and offer his praise. And Daccord didn't elaborate on what Ovechkin said to him, but he did say that it was kind of cool getting to play against a player that he used to play as in NHL 2008 with his friend after the game. Anyway, the point is, Daccord putting on a show already in the first, and would continue to do that through the first intermission, where all that you could really say to sum up the game through one period was that, well, the good news for the Kraken was that Daccord was putting on a show. The bad news was Daccord was having to put on a show with already at that point, I think 16 saves in the first period. Or maybe it was 14 or 15 shots after the first. I don't know. They changed the official scoring between periods and after the game. So the point is, whatever number of shots the Capitals get on Daccord in this first, it's way too many to be giving up in a single period, much less the quality of some of those shots that the Kraken gave up. Still, aside from the one he would have liked back and did get back because of the offside, Daccord was absolutely flawless in this first period, and the Kraken needed it to stay in the game. Unfortunately, as we get to the second period, the Kraken, as we've seen throughout second periods, especially lately, but really over the course of the entire season, are no better, and in fact are a bit worse, as the Capitals have control of this period from start to finish. The only part where you can maybe argue the Kraken have some control is during a power play they have, which does spend a lot of time in the offensive end. Pretty much the entire power play, really, they spend in the offensive end with the puck. But even with all of that, any shot attempts they have either go wide of the net or end up getting blocked on the way in. So, and also to go off the whole changing official scoring thing, they'll even do it during the period if they have the time. They've got a whole group of official scorers in there that are constantly looking over things. During that Kraken power play, their official shots on goal actually went down because they ended up taking away credit for a shot from earlier on in the period. The Kraken during that power play went from 10 shots on goal to 9, which just tells you about all you need to know about that Kraken power play. Fortunately, they don't give up any shorthanded chances, I guess, so Daccord didn't have to make any more mind-melting saves during that sequence. And eventually, it's just too much, as the Capitals would end up scoring. Actually, I think they scored their first one before that Kraken power play. It was already 1-0 when this power play is happening. The Kraken kind of needing a goal at that point to get something going. Point is, the Kraken never get anything going the rest of the game. The first goal comes kind of a few minutes into the second period, and this one, well, it has to be said, it's kind of a whoopsie-daisy from Daccord. It is coming off of another fantastic save on another odd man rush, but even after Daccord makes that save, the Kraken can't cleanly get to the puck behind the net, or you know what, never mind getting to it cleanly, just get to the puck and whack it away up along the boards. They can't clear the puck from the general vicinity of the net whatsoever, so the Capitals eventually get it thrown back to the front of the net, and it goes off a couple sticks, bounces up in the air in front of both Daccord and Vince Dunn right at the top of the crease. Dunn whacks at it, a Capitals player whack at it, but it's Daccord kind of swiping at it with his glove that ends up taking it out of the air, but he just kind of gets it snow-coned on the end of his glove and ends up flinging it behind him into the net to give the Capitals the 1-0 lead. So, not a completely spotless night from Daccord, but I don't think we can really blame this one on him whatsoever, as he continues to put up highlight reel save after highlight reel save after highlight reel save throughout the entire game, including a little bit later in this second period as the Capitals come in pretty much 3-on-1. I mean, it's a guy along the boards that has a bit of a step on, I want to say it's Tolvanen, it doesn't really matter. One of the Kraken players that's kind of back pushing him up along the boards, but he does a little spinning backhand pass, throwing it out in front where two Capitals players have made it past the Kraken defense. And now suddenly with that pass tape to tape, they've got a 2-on-0 in front of Daccord on the rush. They get the pass across, obviously, because there's no one there to break it up, and Daccord still manages to throw his back leg to the far post and make a absolutely incredible save. One of the saves of the season for the Kraken, certainly, and definitely the save of this game, and there were certainly some contenders. But even after that 2-on-0 save and all the other great saves that Daccord had already made in this game, even though it can be the case where a save like that can really spark the bench and get some energy into the team and turn the game around, that certainly doesn't happen, as the Kraken continue to be completely inept offensively and continue to give up breakaways back towards Daccord. That's just what happens. A couple minutes left in the second period, the Kraken having just failed on that power play not long before. It's the line that's been our favorite really since the trade was made, the Beniers line and Kaapo Kakko in particular here, that have the puck in the offensive end. They were able to get to the offensive end somewhat consistently throughout the course of the game, but they had an uncharacteristically horrendous defensive game, and this is certainly part of that. The transition counts as defense, not just what they do in their own end of the ice. And so anyway, Kakko has the puck taken from him at the offensive blue line, and it's right back the other way. A rookie for the Capitals in Ethan Frank, who makes all this happen, steals the puck from Kakko and is in all alone on a free breakaway. Daccord does make, once again, the first save on the first shot, but Vince Dunn, who had hustled to that point to try to get back into the play, after the first shot is taken, he eases up just enough to allow, when that rebound comes out, Frank to get to it first, and he buries the second opportunity to make it 2-0 Capitals. And with it being just the third of the season for Frank, and with him being a rookie, I mean, really, regardless of who it was, it doesn't even matter that it's a rookie scoring his third of the season. It's obviously not a particularly ideal play defensively, even if he's in the offensive end when it all starts, from Kaapo Kakko, allowing himself to get stripped of the puck up by the blue line where he's the last line of defense. There's nobody else behind him. And then not very good follow-up from the pairing of Dunn and Larson, especially Dunn, who does hustle to get back in the play and was able to catch up to it until that last moment where he eases up after the shot is taken, and if he had just kept skating to get back there and try and contest in any way, he would have probably been able to at least lift the stick and maybe prevent that second shot that ends up going in. Of course, none of that really ends up mattering because the Kraken don't score a single goal the other way, so this second goal is, effectively meaningless. Eventually we get to a third period with the score still 2-0, and nothing changes in the third. The Kraken don't really make anything meaningful happen offensively. Sure, they do end up getting a handful of shots on net. It might have even been their best period as far as total shots on goal shot quantity is concerned, and not a lot of that happened with the empty net towards the end of it, so they're at least able to create most of that at 5-on-5, but it was scattered about throughout the entire period. Nothing sustained and, anything dangerous that would have created a chance to actually get back into the game. Eventually, the Kraken do go empty net, and after a little while, it's Ovechkin who does end up hitting it. The Capitals, very clearly, by the way, with the net empty, doing everything they can to feed Ovechkin the puck. As soon as they have it, they're looking around for where number 8 is. They're going to put it on his stick, regardless of whether or not he's behind them closer to their net or not. They're going to pass it to him and hope that he can hit it. He missed it once, hit it the second time. That gets us to 3-0, and again, it hardly would have mattered because the Kraken couldn't do anything offensively. They do get one little flurry of action to try and break up the shutout at the end, but it's nothing that wasn't the one and done offense that we had seen throughout the entire game, aside from that one bit of sustained pressure midway through the first. So then one last time with this game, it's just another reminder of why the Kraken are not going to make that late push, the miracle run to find their way back into the playoff picture and try and stumble their way into a postseason in the second wildcard spot. A second wildcard spot that, if they had managed to beat one of, if not the best team in the NHL, and certainly the hottest team in the NHL, as they're now 9-0-3 in their last 12, that being the Capitals, and the Kraken pulled this one off, gone on a bit of a streak here, then with the schedule kind of lining up with some easier teams, you could have talked yourself into, because nobody else seems to want that second wildcard spot in the West right now, maybe the Kraken could find a way to get up there and claim it. But this game, I think, pretty solidly reminded us why that's not going to happen. The Kraken play a pretty similar game to what they did against the Sabres, and that worked out for them. They scored another 6 goals, were able to overcome another slow start. But against a team who's actually structured and playing well, like the Capitals, well, the Capitals early on get the Kraken out of their structure, and as soon as they got out of it, they just couldn't find any hope or prayer of getting back into it. They looked like a bunch of random dudes out there trying to just go to different spots on the ice, wherever they felt like might be a good spot to be at any given time. Nobody seemed to have a real plan of what to do to get the puck down the ice and create anything offensively. A couple times throughout the game, it just happened to fall in their lap that something would happen and they'd get a good shot off. Really just maybe 2 or 3 decently good chances. The Bjorkstrand breakaway, he doesn't score there. The play between McCann and Wright, where they kind of just made something out of nothing. All of a sudden, it just appeared and the shot got off. It was saved, and that was that. Another one and done. And then a rush chance for Tanev that he was able to sling on net. Isn't able to lift it at all. It's an easy pad save. So, yeah, for the Kraken, nothing created offensively, and certainly nothing that resembled any kind of offensive plan. And for the Capitals, they were in their game all night long. A structured team, playing well, shutting down the Kraken at one end of the ice and taking advantage of all sorts of breakdowns the other way. Just were only able to solve Daccord twice because of how good he was in net in his 100th game. The Kraken waste a fantastic performance in net, and that's kind of been the season, hasn't it? I think I'm pretty much done with this one. I don't really want to think about it that much more. There was not much interesting to talk about aside from Daccord. Even the parts of the game that we're trying to focus on for the Kraken, some of the young players, some of the guys that have been playing pretty well of late, even that didn't go very well. Like I said, the Beniers line didn't create nearly as much offensively as we've been used to seeing them do. And they were probably the worst, not probably, they were the worst line defensively in this game for the Kraken. And maybe some of that was because Chandler Stevenson left the game early, and hopefully he's okay. The Kraken certainly could use a little bit more points production, as we saw, and he has been providing that at the very least. He left midway through the second, went down the tunnel, then came back, had another shift, maybe 2 at the end of the second, and then didn't come back out for the third, so we'll see what happens there. Both McCann and Tolvanen also had a couple of times where they were kind of slow getting to the bench, so there's bumps and bruises, but that really doesn't have... It's no excuse for the complete lack of plan and structure that the Kraken presented on the ice in this game, and have for large stretches of the season. Just every now and then they get away with it against a team that also isn't playing with very much structure. But yeah, not a great night for the Beniers line. An even worse night for the Dunn and Larson pair, which has been, aside from playing pretty well and much more like themselves in the last couple of games coming into this one, really so far in 2025, they have been downright bad, especially defensively. They're still creating chances offensively. I think they're still, someone said they're still a +2, or someone on Blue Sky where I've been kind of hanging out now during games said they're +2, but they have been tough defensively, and it showed in this game. They're the two out on the ice for both of the goals against. Finally, closing things out with the Kraken 3 stars, which there will not be 3 stars, brought to you by the patrons over on Patreon, where they agreed there's just 1 star in this game. It's Daccord. He was, lights out. I've said it a number of times. We've seen a couple of saves. If you want to go watch some fantastic saves, the highlight pack for this game is there. It's not super interesting other than that, but there are a couple pretty nice Daccord saves. Maybe even the best start and game of Daccord's NHL career is his 100th one. I'd say pretty easily a top 5 game as a Kraken. It's hard to go against the Winter Classic, so maybe we'll stick with a top 5 start of his NHL career. I don't think he had any particularly better starts in the few games he played for the Senators before coming to Seattle. And unfortunately, the Kraken just completely waste it. They give him absolutely no support whatsoever, whether offensively or defensively. It's just Daccord out there by himself for 60 minutes tonight. And as a result, he is the only star. Let me know what you think, though, down in the comment section below. If there's someone else you think you can talk their way into the 3 stars, or just feel free to vent your feelings about this game and how the Kraken failed to support Daccord. They need to get him some help if they can. The way he's played last season and this season, if they can get a team around him, that is a goaltender that can give you a chance at a Stanley Cup, which I know sounds a little ridiculous given where we're at right now, but Daccord is playing well enough to get the Kraken there if they can get a team in front of him, which, again, is obviously not happening this season, but just as a glimmer of hope for the future, maybe. Again, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below, and until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, bless, and go Kraken.